Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of anywhere else? And that's because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They don't even read any of the comments. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about, so I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of of The Herd with Colin Cowherd, talking about the whole decision with Shanahan and with the overtime decision, that is. I haven't seen this, but I can see in the title, it says 49ers Super Bowl OT decision is overblown. I just want to say off the top, I 1000% disagree. 1000% disagree. And there's actually really only one reason that I can see why they would want to do that is because, and as I've said now in previous videos, and I think Romo may have said this as well, is that if you think maybe the Chiefs defense was really tired and so you wanted to take advantage of that, I think that is theoretically valid, but if you think you're that good, you need to trust your team that you can be able to do good against a more rested Chiefs team, so a defense that is. So I kind of disagree with that. And I know Shanahan said that he wanted to go third, meaning essentially when you're in overtime, in his logic, it was the 49ers score, then the Chiefs score, and then the 49ers get the ball back. And now it's sudden death. All the Chiefs need to do, or the 49ers need to do, is just score. And that's the game. But with that said, Andy Reid apparently has then come out and said that they would have just gone for two if that was the case and not just given the ball back to the 49ers, thus making third not an advantage anymore. So in my viewpoint, it was a terrible, terrible mistake. You want to be able to have 4 downs versus 3 downs. That's just obviously undeniably. And also, and maybe even more importantly, you don't want to give the Patrick Mahomes 4 downs and Andy Reid 4 downs. So it's just such an advantage to go second rather than first, even no matter what the situation is, whether they scored or not. So it was a terrible move on their part. So I really want to hear what Colin has to say to see if he convinces me otherwise, because I don't think the decision is overblown whatsoever.
Here's a story that is massively overblown. And let me start by saying I've been doing this for 30 years, radio and television. And yet I don't know what a single button or lever does in the control room. If the staff yelled in my ear, "We have a graphics problem," I'd be like, awesome, fix it. I don't know any of the buttons. And yet I've been in this profession for 30 years. Why? Because Fox and my former bosses at ESPN knew I was good talking to a microphone and didn't want to clutter up my head with stuff that they could pay other people to do. Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan are paid to know the overtime rules. Be careful how much you put on the players. So the most overblown story is that the players for the Niners didn't know the overtime rules. It should be noted, Mecole Hardman caught the winning touchdown pass for Kansas City. He didn't know the game was over. He didn't know the game was over. People are making it sound like the overtime rules were a huge deviation. Like the official goes to the players and says, "Okay, guys, you can no longer use your hands here. We're playing soccer." Or the official says, "All right, from now on, touchdowns are worth 3, field goals worth 7. No, instead, Kyle said, "We'll take the ball first. My defense is gassed. They were just on the field. And let's generate a long drive and score." And they did, but only a field goal and not a touchdown. What he wanted was the ball if Kansas City came back to score, so Kyle would get the final possession potentially. And I defend that. Kyle knew the rules, and so did Andy Reid. They had both talked to their analytic specialists. I have news for you. The guy conducting the orchestra doesn't know how to play the clarinet. When you're
That's not always true. In fact, those guys a lot of times are super brilliant and know how to play every single instrument. I used to play the trumpet, and my conductor and composer and all of that knew how to play every single instrument. So that might be true. Maybe at the highest levels, I don't know, but I'm not so sure what he said is true, which is irrelevant at this point, quite honestly. But I understand what he's saying. Okay, so I will agree that I think that the players not knowing those rules necessarily is maybe overblown in the way that I don't think it's still right. I think they should still know the rules, and the coaches should be doing a good enough job of educating them on that. But that's not why they lost, right? Juszczyk not knowing the rules is not why they lost, right? They were still trying just as hard, whether they realized that that was going to win the game or not, right? Like, it's still all hands on deck. This is the Super Bowl. I could maybe see the argument if it's like week 3 or something, then you would be like, well, they weren't playing as intense because, whatever. But this is the Super Bowl. Every play, you are locked and loaded. So I don't think knowing the rules in that moment necessarily changed their approach to the game or changed how they played. Now maybe if the players like Juszczyk and who else, I forget who else came out, didn't know the rules and they're responsible for making play calls, right? Then I could say, okay, that would probably have hurt you, right? That's like if Shanahan didn't know the rules, then you would say, well, now that really affected you. But that's not the case, right? That's just not the case, and that was kind of what I think Cowherd is trying to say with regards to him not knowing any of the levers and the buttons that he just talks to the mic, which is what the players are doing in this situation. So I do agree with that. So I don't think that part. So if they're really emphasizing that, which I haven't really heard, I know they've talked about it, but I don't think anyone's really necessarily putting that as the reason they lost. I think people are really more focusing on Kyle Shanahan taking the ball first. I think that's what that comes down to more. And I don't think it's overblown. It was a bad decision. I understand your defense is tired now or whatnot, but under that logic, then I don't know, then their offense should be tired for the Chiefs. I mean in that regard. And I don't know. I mean, the 4-3 downs is such a massive advantage. It just can't be overstated. It really can't be. Having 4 downs versus 3 downs, it's just unbelievably what the percentages change, and your play calling changes. So it literally changes first down, second down, third down, and you get a fourth down. It changes everything. And then the perfect example of this is we saw the Chiefs be 4th and 1. And a lot of people, way smarter than me, believe that if they went first and were in that situation, the Chiefs would have kicked a punted the ball, because they were otherwise they were going to give the 49ers great field position and pretty much, a one-way ticket to the victory. But since they knew, well, we can't do that, we have to go on 4th down, it changes everything. So I understand your defense may have been tired and that's why, but I'm just not even necessarily buying that. Because also there's still some time between the end of the game and the coin flip and all of that. There was an extended commercial break. Like, they're going to be tired, but you're going to be tired regardless. But if memory serves me correctly, there was at least like 5 minutes, which means you pretty much are as recovered as you're going to be in terms of football. So this is the way how you recover from, fitness and stuff like that. There's going to be no huge difference when you're doing the type of physical activity that you do in a football game. It's kind of this up and down where, like, this is your peak performance, and then now you're really tired after, like, the end of the play. And now if you were told to immediately go again, right, like with 1 second rest, you wouldn't be able to reach back that level. And now you have the recovery capacity, like your body's now regenerating energy, ATP, glycogen, glucose, like energy. Like, I'm not gonna get into this all much, but it's kind of like similar to what you maybe have saw if you're not too in the know with this type of stuff. Is when beast mode, right? Oh my God, Marshawn Lynch is eating Skittles and stuff like that. It's similar things. I'm trying to keep this really simple and dumbed down for anyone this is just not as interesting to them. But the point is, what I'm trying to make is that within the first few minutes of resting, you're pretty much reaching back to max capacity. If you rest another 5 minutes, it's not going to be that measurable of a difference. Maybe even 10 minutes only matter so much. Again, this depends on what you're exactly exerting. If it's a quick 5-second all out, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, trying to block someone, right? That's different. If you're running sprints as fast as you can, like you might do if you're like a safety or a wide receiver or whatever, or a running back, again, within the first few minutes of rest, you're pretty much as max recovery right now, or as max as you're going to get. That another 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes might feel a little bit better psychologically, but it's not the performance is only going to get so much better in that regard. Now, of course, if you rest another hour, but also this also has limitations, because even if you rested an hour, right? If you sprinted once and then you rest an hour and then sprint again, your performance is not going to be significantly better. Where if you just sprint, rested for 10 minutes, and then ran another sprint, that's just not how you recover. So the defense would have been rested enough. They would have been good enough at that point. So I also kind of dispute that. And so I just think it's silly. It seems like what ultimately he wanted to do was have the first, second, ball, score, Chiefs, score, 49ers, get the ball, score. That seems like what he was banking on. And if that was the case, then they should have gone for it on third down. They shouldn't have taken the field goal. You got to believe that Patrick Mahomes and that offense and Andy Reid were going to be able to get down the field and score a touchdown. I mean, and then that way you now have 4 downs to get something done. It was 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 4. It could have handed the ball off to I would have handed the ball off to Christian McCaffrey twice and said, "Yo, Christian, you want to be Super Bowl MVP? You want to win? You want to be the champion? You got 2 downs to get this first down. Let's go. 2 downs to get 4 or 5 yards. Let's go. Just impose your will." And also tell that to the offensive line. Call a timeout. I mean, they didn't even call a timeout. Why didn't dial up a play? Dial up a trick play. Do something. But he didn't. It was this pressure. It was, oh my God, it's 3rd and 4, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 5. Oh my God, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? And then it's like Brock Purdy calling the play, and then boom, rushed that. It was all so rushed and anxious, and it was like, what are you doing? That didn't need to happen that way. And that's on Shanahan. So I don't think it's overblown. I think Shanahan does deserve criticism. I don't think Shanahan deserves to be fired or thrown to the wolves, or that he's a terrible coach and he's the reason why they lost. He's definitely part of it. That was not one of his better coaching games. It just wasn't. But so I don't think it's overblown. And I think if you're a 49ers fan, focusing on that is appropriate. I think also focusing on the Christian McCaffrey fumble is appropriate. Focusing on the missed extra point is appropriate. Focusing on the punt return fumble is appropriate. And, I think all of those reasons are why you ultimately lost in the Super Bowl. It just is what it is. That's the reality. But what do you guys all think? Do you think that this was overblown? Do you think Shanahan, what he did was the right move? And, people are just hating for the sake of hating, or they just need to find a reason why? Let me know in the comments below. Would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this one. Please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and see you next time.